The loss of confidence. Confidence, noun. Full trust, belief in the powers, trustworthiness or reliability of a person or thing. Trust, to have trust or confidence in, rely or depend upon, to believe, to expect confidently. True knowingness is absolute confidence, trust, and certainty. The loss of confidence or trust in someone or something causes one to look elsewhere for it. The misconceptions created by the conventional mind with its limited perceptions does in fact result in an invalidation of our own knowingness and causes us to look elsewhere, outside ourselves, to regain it, when in fact it has never gone anywhere. It's just been obscured by beliefs in misconceptions. An allegory. In the book of Genesis, chapters 2 and 3, it's described the Garden of God or the Garden of Eden. It's here that Adam and Eve were created and had full reign. According to the Bible, God made, aside from those trees pleasant to the sight and good for food, two specific trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God instructed Adam, not Eve, for she had not yet been created, that he could eat of any tree, but not that of the tree of knowledge, for the day he does so, he would surely die. In this allegory, the tree of life represents, one might say, ultimate truth, or divine mind, while the tree of knowledge, of good and evil, represents our relative or conventional mind that operates off of dichotomies, concepts of comparison, such as good, evil, right, wrong, left, right, hot, cold, etc. Our conventional or relative mind cannot know ultimate truth, God, or divine mind. The conventional mind needs to invent names, concepts, and ideas to know about, due to the limitations imposed by its perceptions. It can only think with concepts that represent some state or quality of form. It cannot comprehend that which is empty or formless. There is knowingness, and there is knowing about something or things which we assign names to. These are two very distinct levels of understanding and knowing. Truth is the essence of knowingness. It's what you intuitively know. It does not reside outside yourself. It is experiential, but may not be expressible in words, being it's beyond the limits of the conventional mind, but it is realizable. We as consciousness have, in a sense, bit the apple, or come to believe that the conventional mind is the source of knowingness or knowledge, and that truth, that formless quality, or our own inherent knowingness, is non-existent. We have basically lost confidence in our true self, that is in the likeness of God. It makes no difference the conventional names we assign to it. We could call it Buddha nature, consciousness, or Christ consciousness. It's all pointing to a formless quality, that of spiritual truth. So how do we regain confidence, knowingness in what has been lost? Recognition. The first step requires recognition. We need to recognize the difference in these two very distinct states, knowingness versus knowing about. I'll borrow here a phrase from the introduction to A Course in Miracles, upon which its basic workability lies. And that is, first, nothing real can be threatened. And second, nothing unreal exists. What we have come to believe as real, based upon the limited perceptions of the conventional mind, is in fact unreal, and actually an illusion of sorts. What is actually real is the source of all qualities and manifestations of appearance. We could call it God, consciousness, spiritual truth, any number of terms, but actually there can be no name we can ascribe to it due to its formless quality. So the word would have to merely be a pointer of sorts to that which is inherent in you but which is beyond words. Which leads us to the second distinction. Nothing unreal exists. What's being clarified here is that if what's real or true is in fact formless and cannot be threatened, then anything seen as having a solid appearance and being of form must be an illusion and not have inherent existence. Science, and in particular quantum physics, has come to verify this fact and is wrestling with this conundrum at this time. We know everything changes, nothing is permanent, but knowing that fact does not alter the sense perceptions of our conventional mind, whose primary task is to take what is merely appearance and what we call now and convert it into something more, something that appears to have persistence, appears to be solid, and would seem to have inherent existence. One way it does this is by assigning symbols or names to the various qualities of appearances. Clarification. Which brings us to our next point. Clarification. The conventional mind is doing exactly what it's been designed to do. It actually allows for the experience of creation that is taking place now, in consciousness. I'm using the term consciousness for lack of a better term. Perhaps another way to describe it might be the space of creation. The point being that conventional mind is a tool, a servant for the purpose of experience. The conventional mind assembles the effects received by its sense perceptions into some cognitive form. It's this mental viewpoint that we as consciousness have come to identify as. This viewpoint is in fact empty of inherent existence. It manifests as the perceptions receive frequencies and wavelengths within the conventional mind in the moment we call now. We have confused the tool, the servant, the conventional mind viewpoint as the self or ego, while the formless quality, that which is real, goes unnoticed, invalidated, and yet is the active agent. The result of this is that the conclusions drawn by the conventional mind, which is part of the body-mind composite, become your reality as consciousness. We believe them to be real. We are creating our reality, so that the beliefs, the erroneous views we cling and become tethered to, become also the source of mental suffering. All the while, truth, consciousness, remains present, but obscured due to our being tethered to the mind's misperceptions. Once we recognize this confusion and clarify the misconceptions, in other words, when truth is recognized, we are untethered from the misconceptions and set free. We no longer perceive the conventional mind as our master and are awakened to truth and divine mind. We are in fact awakened to knowingness itself. The Old Testament of the Bible reflects God as a vengeful deity. This misconception has actually contributed to man's suffering. The New Testament and the parables and allegories that Christ taught and his disciples disseminated were designed to dispel this misconception. In addition, Christ made it very clear our relationship as sons of God and the qualities that we were inherently endowed with. If we take the personification of spiritual truth as the embodiment of Christ, we can see what he was trying to get across as truth in his statement, "Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted by becoming as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven," which was from Matthew chapter 18, verse 3. He was aware of the need to let go of the conventional mind, this mind of misconceptions and assumed knowledge, in order to recognize truth and enter into the kingdom of heaven, that state of oneness which has always been present but simply obscured by misperceptions and misconceptions. So the loss of confidence is simply the result of these misconceptions. Truth, recognized, restores not only confidence and certainty, but knowingness and unity with what has been called the Father. I wanted to share another take on the biblical allegory in Genesis chapter 3, verses 22 to 24. And it states, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now he might put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to keep the way of the tree of life." These verses, in my opinion, are a misrepresentation of truth and the quality of God. A father would not intentionally try to hurt a son. He would not place something harmful in the way of a child, knowing the child would die from it. God is not sadistic. I do believe it to be true that once we bite into the apple of the conventional mind and assume it to be the sole source of knowledge and assume its viewpoint, we suffer as a result of misperceptions and misconceptions. I also see where one can come to believe that truth is unobtainable, unreachable, and get the impression that the tree of life, though present, is guarded to prevent the eating of its fruit. From the viewpoint of and as the conventional mind, this misconception appears logical, and ultimate truth does appear unreachable. If that is the master we serve, there is no escape, and we are trapped in our own assumed knowledge. But nothing is separate from God, from truth, from the real. Spiritual truth is, in fact, the tree of life. One could say the Christ is the embodiment of spiritual truth. Truth is what frees us from misconception. Its recognition results in what has been termed salvation. This was Christ's purpose as spiritual truth. One can realize it. One can experience it because you, as consciousness, have inherited it from God himself. May you be untethered from the darkness caused by misperceptions and once again bask in the light of this truth.